Coming up today, thought it was all over? It probably isn't yet. China's main stock market opens 3% down after a crushing first day of the year that saw trading dramatically halted. We have more on how the rout sparked a global sell-off. The deadline is today, but Korea's election watchdog appears no closer to figuring out how to redraw the electoral map ahead of the general election in April. Plus, Saudi Arabia has suspended trade and transport links with Iran as its allies in the region do the same. As tensions threaten to bubble over, the UN and the US appeal for calm and restraint. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Tuesday, the 5th of January. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. And we start with the shockwaves sparked by China's market rout. And the year could not have gotten off to a worse start, really, especially considering that the first trading session is usually characterized by optimism. Not so on Monday, though, with markets around the world taking a battering. However, Asian markets, including China's, eventually leveled out somewhat today. Kim Min-ji has this report.
China's benchmark index appears to be steadying after the carnage on Monday. There were early concerns that there could be more of the same as the Shanghai Composite Index opened more than 3% lower on Tuesday, but it has regained its footing in the morning session, floating around the same as Monday's in-force close. The index tumbled a whopping 7% on the first day of trading of 2016 before China's new system-wide circuit breaker pulled the plug on trading. The session was initially halted for 15 minutes after stocks fell 5% before the full suspension took effect, limiting the damage of plunging stocks. The turmoil in China sent shockwaves across global markets. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 1.6% down from the previous close. At one point during trading, it fell 2.5%, the biggest fall on the first day of trading of the year in 84 years. The S&P 500 shed 1.5%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq closed more than 2% lower.
Drivers of the market today have been what's been driving the market since last summer. It's been the Chinese economic deceleration, it's been the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, and it's been the glut of oil and what's that really done to the energy segments of the market.
The sell-off was even more pronounced in Europe. In the UK, the FTSE 100 closed down 2.4%, while Germany's DAX 30 plunged 4.3%. The Chinese market rout came on the back of sluggish manufacturing activity in the country that cast a dark cloud over the world's second-largest economy. The official Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index fell for the 10th straight month to 48.2 for December, with the reading meaning a contraction in activity. In Korea, the benchmark Kospi recovered from the previous day's fall, edging up about 1% as of 11 a.m. on Tuesday. Korea has downplayed the impact of China's stock market crash on the local market, with officials saying they will closely monitor fluctuations in the global market and its impact on the Korean bourse. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
So with the global economy still reeling after the market crash in China, there are growing concerns about the stability of the world's second largest economy, and recent data seems to imply that the road ahead might not be that smooth either. Lee Soo-eun has the details.
China sent shockwaves around the world when markets there crashed on Monday, and there are still a number of concerning risk factors of the country going forward. First is sluggish growth. A Bloomberg survey of economists show a median growth projection of 6.5%, well below its 7% target for 2016. On top of that, China's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, has been below the healthy level of 50 for 10 straight months, an implication that external demand for manufactured Chinese goods is on the decline. Next is the possibility of a continued drop in the value of the Chinese yuan. On Monday, markets closed with the yuan at nearly 6.52 against the greenback, the lowest on record since May 2011. Until now, the Chinese government has defended its currency devaluation by injecting foreign reserves into the market. But if foreign investors choose to pull capital out of China triggered by a low yuan, this may no longer be possible. The Chinese market has gradually opened up in recent years with the launch of Shanghai-Hong Kong Stock Connect in 2014 and the yuan's inclusion in the IMF's currency basket last year. With plans to further open its markets this year, including the Shenzhen Index and the MSCI Emerging Markets Index, increased volatility is expected. With corporate reformation on the Chinese government's agenda and the real estate market concerned about a double dip triggered by rising government debt and unstable banks, the Chinese economy has a rocky road ahead. 이수은, Arirang News.
Now staying with economic news, and Korea's current account surplus streak is now into its 45th consecutive month, meaning the nation's trade balance has consistently been in the black for nearly 4 years now. The Bank of Korea says the country posted a surplus of $9.4 billion in November. That's higher than the surplus posted the previous month, but lower than the over $10 billion surplus recorded in the same month in 2014. November's surplus came as inbound and outbound shipments dropped. Exports were down nearly 12% on year. Imports were over 15% lower due to plunging oil prices. The deficit in the service account, which includes tourism and shipping, also narrowed slightly in November from the previous month. President Park Geun-hye held her first cabinet meeting of the year today, where she laid out the groundwork for this year's policies, saying she and her administration will do all they can for the people and the nation for the remainder of her term. President Park asked the cabinet members to work to improve the livelihoods of the people. President Park asked for the same efforts from the National Assembly as well, repeating her call for lawmakers to pass economy-related bills and work for the people they represent. Revitalizing the economy and innovation are the Park administration's key goals via reform and deregulation for sustainable growth to create quality jobs for young people and strengthen the Korean economy. Now, the National Election Commission hasn't made any progress on the task of redrawing the country's electoral map, despite the National Assembly Speaker stating quite clearly that the issue has to be resolved by today. The existing map expired at midnight on New Year's Eve, December 31st, and Jung Eui-hwa had proposed to pass a bill that's similar to an earlier one that had 246 seats for local constituencies and 54 for proportional representatives. Jung took action after the country's two main rival parties failed to reach a compromise on the issue, with proportional representatives being the main sticking point. Now, there are concerns that a failure to redraw the map will create some chaos among candidates registering for the general election in April, and those worries have actually prompted a group of them to file a lawsuit against Parliament. They did so on Monday. As of last month, 843 people had registered for the election, nearly two-thirds of them, or roughly 520, with the ruling Saenuri Party, and the rest, or 180, with the main opposition Minju Party of Korea. In terms of demographics, a whopping 92% of the candidates are male, with the vast majority of them in their 50s. Now, in international news, Saudi Arabia's allies in the region have joined the kingdom in severing diplomatic ties with Iran as the repercussions ripple out over Riyadh's execution of a leading Shia cleric. The escalating sectarian tensions are creating a long and dark shadow over efforts to end the bloody conflicts, not only in Syria, but also in Yemen. Son Jung-in has the details.
The Saudi government widened its rift with Iran on Monday by halting all flights and trade between the countries.
We decided to cut off all diplomatic relations with Iran. We will also be cutting off all air traffic to and from Iran. We will be cutting off all commercial relations with Iran, and we will have a travel ban against people traveling to Iran.
Saudi Arabia's closest Sunni allies followed the kingdom's lead. Bahrain and Sudan both announced that they were severing diplomatic ties with Iran. The United Arab Emirates didn't go as far, but still downgraded its diplomatic relations with the Islamic Republic. Relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran, two Middle Eastern powerhouses, have deteriorated following Riyadh's execution of Shiite cleric Nimr al-Nimr on Saturday, which led to an attack on the Saudi embassy in Tehran. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon urged the two regional rivals to support peace efforts in Syria and Yemen, where the two countries back opposing sides. He called on both foreign ministers to avoid any actions that could further exacerbate the situation in the region.
The Secretary General also reiterated that the attack on the Saudi embassy in Tehran was deplorable, but added that the announcement of a break in Saudi diplomatic relations with Tehran was deeply worrying.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry echoed Ban's concerns, reaching out to his counterparts from the two countries to urge calm and de-escalation. Amid the tension, the UN envoy for Syria is to visit both countries this week to gauge the impact of the crisis on efforts to convene peace talks later this month. 손정인, Arirang News.
Actions speak louder than words. That's what the US State Department said in regards to Kim Jong-un's recent New Year's message. A spokesperson for the department's Bureau of East Asian and Pacific Affairs told Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency that the US has long supported improved inter-Korean relations and that it continues to call on the North to refrain from actions that raise tensions in the region. He added that Pyongyang would be judged by what it actually does rather than what it says. The official reiterated that North Korea should focus on taking concrete steps towards fulfilling its international commitments and obligations. Two North Korean doctors working in Cambodia were found dead on Saturday from apparent alcohol poisoning under potentially suspicious circumstances. The report by the Washington Post on Tuesday, which cites the Phnom Penh Post, says 56-year-old An Hyung Chan and 50-year-old Lee Mun Chol were found dead in the clinic that also serves as their home in the Cambodian capital of Phnom Penh. The autopsy report said both had died of heart attacks. Now, the doctors' wives reportedly told police the men had high temperatures, had abnormal heartbeats and had been drinking heavily, so the women injected their husbands with what they said was, quote, medicine and serum to counter the alcohol. When reporters visited the clinic on Monday afternoon, 4 North Korean men who were there declined to be interviewed. Now, sad news. Stephen Bosworth, Washington's former special representative on North Korea policy, has died at the age of 76. Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, a school which he led until recently, said he died on Sunday, late Sunday local time, although it did not specify the cause of his death. Mr. Bosworth is known to have suffered from prostate cancer. He served as Washington's top envoy for North Korea from 2009 to 2011 and was the US ambassador to South Korea from 1997 to 2011, so almost 15 years. He was also recognized as Washington's top expert on the North Korean nuclear issue and extremely highly respected for his contribution to South Korea-US relations. Now, even more good news for drivers in Korea, because the price of gasoline in the country is expected to fall to slightly over $1 a litre. This is in line with the global oil prices that have been sitting at lows not seen in many years. The Korea National Oil Corporation says the average price of gas at the pump inched down to about $1.20 a litre as of Monday. But oil industry sources say gas prices are forecast to drop even further to just over $1 a litre, dropping to or below the price recorded in January 2009. They added that despite the rising $1 exchange rate, the downward trend in local gas prices is likely going to continue. Now, on the global oil markets on Monday, Brent crude fell to $37.24 a barrel, while US benchmark West Texas Intermediate futures settled nearly 30 cents lower at just $36.76 a barrel. Prices are expected to stay low as oversupply in world markets is forecast to continue for the time being. Now, the US government is suing Volkswagen over the German automaker's installation of software to evade US emission standards. In a statement to the court in Detroit, the Justice Department said car manufacturers that fail to properly certify their cars not only break the public trust, they also endanger public health and disadvantage their competitors. The complaint covers around 600,000 cars that Volkswagen and its brands, so including Audi and Porsche, have sold in the United States between 2009 and 2015. The Environmental Protection Agency said the government filed the lawsuit because Volkswagen was actually resisting more recalls and did not have an acceptable response in the first place. The EPA says the government is looking for civil penalties, but it has not specified how much Volkswagen is going to have to stump up. Staying in the United States, in the world's largest technology trade convention, the Consumer Electronics Show will be kicking off in Las Vegas with a press day on Tuesday local time. Now, at the event, 3,600 companies will be showcasing their latest products to an estimated 170,000 industry professionals and the general public that shows up. Cars. They're going to have a bigger presence this year, with the amount of floor space for automakers increasing by 25% compared to last year. In terms of what Korean companies will be doing, LG Electronics will be unveiling a new line of mid-range smartphones. They are called the K series, while Samsung Electronics will continue to display its range of smart home technologies. The trade show will officially run from Wednesday until Saturday. Well, those are stories we've been following on this Tuesday afternoon here in Seoul. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out the website, arirang.com/news. We also have our smartphone application. You can find it just by searching for Arirang TV in the usual places. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.